Let's start with the spiciest topic.
Okay.
What are people blurring in these videos? I'm just kidding.
Bank statements mostly.
The challenge is like, how do we make this feature prominent and available to people, but not clutter our extension?
Oh, whoa, look at all those variations of what the actual blur looks like.
Yes, so this was actually Chris did this before.
That's cool.
Another thing that like we spent quite a bit of time iterating on was like what the cursor would look like.
That was the feature. It shipped in that 24-hour period because all of the prerequisites were ready. That was a lot of fun to get in.
This week at Jam, we're approaching the release of our newest feature, the Blur tool. And in this episode, we're going to do a product design deep dive, sharing the Figma and showing what it was like designing this feature. And we have Kira and Aiden on the call to walk us through the whole thing. So let's get into it.
Hey, you should blur the one about Facebook not censoring anymore because it's irony.
LOL, which number is that?
8.
Phase.
Because like we're censoring.
Okay. Ending our third-party fact. Oh, yeah, there it is. FB.com.
Do you see the irony?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not censoring, we're blurring it out. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
I get it. So, basically what you do is right now when you want to go and blur something, you can go and record a tab. You click the blur tool there. By doing so, it pauses the little countdown. We're not yet recording. We can go and blur this, and blur the 503 comments, and blur our video tour of the standard model, and blur this search bar because maybe that has some sensitive stuff in it. When we click done, the countdown resumes, and it will go and start capturing the fact that we're blurring stuff. And similarly, I can go in and now click to unblur this and click to unblur that because, maybe these are safe to look at now. A fun little feature within the feature is that when you refresh the page, it reblurs everything. Often that happens pretty quickly. So it happens as well when you click discuss and you go back. You don't have to just refresh the page. It remembers what you've blurred. And then when you're done, you click stop. It unblurs the things and it shows you your regular old expected Jam page, which we can play, and you will see that everything remains blurred as we click through it.
Wait, this is actually such a good feature to do a design walkthrough of, because when you see it, you're like, this is so obvious. Like, what was there to design? But when we started, we didn't know in what direction it would go. And okay, so this is actually going to be quite cool.
Okay, well, I walk through Figma.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Please.
All right. I'm going to probably just walk through some items in I suppose in the order that they're here in Figma. And if you just want to dive deeper on anything, just shout out. So when kind of like first exploring blur, the kind of first challenge, or at least one of the challenges I tackled first, was like, where do you trigger that blur from? Like you open the extension and somebody's going to they're going to want to blur something on screen. And my thinking is they're going to want to blur that before they start recording. So you don't want to have that scenario where you start recording, you've already, and then we have a toolbar when you've started recording that we could pop it into, but you've potentially already shown the thing on screen. So now you've got something that you have to trim. So it's like, right, someone's going to want to do this before they start recording. So where can we fit that into the extension? And I think I looked at some options here like this, where, you could put it, we could have an additional sort of more drop down here alongside the record options, and it could live in there. And that could also be where we would have the settings for show clicks and show keystrokes. And that was one thing we considered, but there was, as soon as I kind of started to show designs around touching the extension, the immediate feedback from sort of the design team was, okay, how can is there any way we can do this without making the extension complicated? Because obviously it's all well and good to put another setting into the extension. It's kind of an obvious place for everything, but the problem with it being an obvious place for everything is that everything ends up there, and suddenly we have this extension that's way more complicated than it needs to be. And ultimately blur is a feature that I guess we don't know what percentage of people are going to want to need, but it's not going to be 50%. It's not could be that the people who need it a lot, but not necessarily that everybody needs it. So the challenge is how do we make this feature prominent and available to people, but not clutter our extension? So we started to then look at how do we fit it into we have an existing countdown timer. So where can we put it in there? I kind of looked at what this might look like with some future settings, which we don't have. So some of the designs are just kind of looking at like putting it into this counter and what that might look like as we
Whoa.
add more things ultimately. So then, yeah, we also looked at like, can we do we stick blur out? Do we make it a more prominent option? Does it sit out there? I felt a little bit too much for, again, just kind of going back to the fact that like not a huge amount of people will use this. Some other things here, probably me, just because it was my first task, just kind of messing around with the extension and where things might live. Now, obviously, another thing that like we spent quite a bit of time iterating on was like what the cursor would look like. So we had like, the idea of like it being this, we wanted it to be kind of like something kind of prominent because you're kind of going around and like clicking and blurring things. It's like, it feels like it doesn't need like the fidelity of like a pointer because you're not clicking on small things. You're actually selecting like outer containers. And so we wanted kind of something big and prominent. So we started with this strawberry. And then you can obviously see we're like highlighting this element. And one of the other challenges, and it's something that will kind of probably come up again in the V2, was like the idea that somebody might want to blur something on multiple pages. So you might like you might have this element here and you want to blur the title, and in your capture afterwards that you're going to click on the next page and that title's going to reappear. So you're like, I'd love to, I want to move on to that page. So we had the idea that like you would be in select mode and you could turn that off, and then you would kind of go back to like navigate mode, and so you could move to the other page, and so you could go through multiple pages, blur multiple things.
One follow up for you there. I'm wondering, like, so how do you pick a good selector icon? Like, it sounds like the size of the thing you're clicking is an important factor, but why
Yeah,
not a strawberry? Because that looks
why
kind
not
of
a
fun.
strawberry? Could well be a strawberry. I suppose it doesn't feel. It feels like you could use a strawberry for anything, right? It doesn't feel specific enough. Um, and I think at this point we didn't have what we didn't have was like a nice icon for actually to represent blur, and so we didn't have that thing to use here. So I kind of went with a strawberry as like, I don't know. It's like a good first option, but it can be a good first option for like maybe any jam feature. So it too generic, I suppose, is why it's not good. So then actually we did try like a blurred strawberry, um, which I have in here somewhere as well. It'll make an appearance.
I think that's the blurred strawberry.
Yeah, that was yeah. So I made that was the inspiration. So I made an icon out of that. Is this it? I tried to make an icon out of that. I was trying to blur it.
Ah,
So these are all the options. So this helped me kind of narrow down on like three, I suppose, potential favorites here. So I kind of like went high fidelity on three of these. So I was also considering like the kind of like closed eye, but that's kind of works. Just felt a little bit more like it's you're hiding things. Obviously it could feel like you're actually going to click into, because you're clicking HTML elements, maybe you're going to make them disappear altogether, which is not what we wanted. This is just a little bit too color droppy. So this was the one, this kind of like C here was the one that kind of felt most right, something close to that. There was the tricky part of like also the workspaces. I don't know if we want to get into that aspect of it. So
Yeah,
you
I
could,
mean that
You have an
that
hour?
is the core of it, right? Like the decision that we made here was that I remember talking with you about this early on in the design discussions for these features, and there was some discussion about when somebody is recording, we don't know what workspace they're going to be sending the recording into,
mhm,
and because of that, we're not able to go and identify, oh, this is going to your paid workspace versus your free and personal workspace, and so we don't necessarily know that
yes, yeah,
at that time. And so we don't know if you have access to the blur feature or to any of the pro features when you're doing the recording. And that was a big question mark around how we were going to do this. And I love the solution that we came to, which is just if you belong to any team that is allowed to use the feature, you could use the feature as much as you want. And I love that because that way, if I'm on a team with y'all's at work and also I'm using Jam on like a hobby project open sourcey thing or like some other like I don't know some other personal project, then I can still make my recordings with Jam and Blur in it. And one of my other colleagues or someone I'm sharing the recording to who might not have access to the feature might see it and be like, oh, that's super cool. I want to use it now. And like, I love the virality of this decision. And then also the ability to just like, um, another fun thing about this is that this is, Kieran, to your point, the first time that we're introducing demo uses of these features that will help somebody upgrade. And there was a decision that we made here about whether the demo uses should be allocated per team or per workspace
Yep.
or per individual. And to that comment before about like, one, we don't know what team this is going to, so we definitely can't at the time of recording say like, oh, one of three demo uses remaining. Like we can't say that because we don't know what team this is going into. But even more, if we if we limited the demo uses per team, then if you are on a team that already used the three blur allowances and you have a reason to use it or to try it, you can't anymore. And that was another limitation. I just like really love the decision that we made here.
Yeah, that was the I had forgotten about that whole aspect of basically we didn't know. Yeah, that was the real challenge. Is like we because when you start to use Jam, you're just pulling up the extension. You could be in multiple workspaces. We don't know where you're going to send that. We don't have any sort of billing context around your kind of like intended usage because you decide after you create the jam which team it goes into. And so we had that challenge of like, okay, so whenever if you're here and you've got your kind of personal jams and you're with two teams and they're all on free, that's fine. But what happens now when you have one of them on a business plan and then two of them are in free and you've triggered the extension and we don't yet know which one of these you're going to pop the jam into? So what do we do? And so we were, yeah, that was the kind of thinking. And then we kind of realized that like, okay, there's no the downside of you being able to, like, if you're paying here and you then go to put a jam that uses a premium feature like blur, if you go to put that in here, it does create a bit of a backdoor for people that they can technically use paid features in here. But the upside of that is you're actually showcasing good paid features in that team. Other people who are in this team are not going to be able to use it. So only you, because you paid here. But if there's 10 other people in here, they're going to see that feature and be going like, hey, how do I annotate? And then it's going to be clear that they're going to have to upgrade the entire workspace. And so it actually kind of like leaks really good use without us having to say, hey, check out Blur. It's a really good premium feature. You have a user in the team who's already used it in probably a very useful way because it's been needed. And then everyone's like, okay, let's get that feature. So it actually became kind of like a potentially a nice way to like promote it rather than it becoming like a pretty painful UX experience for this person who has paid and sees the value to now have to like deal with upfront, maybe like, okay, which one are you putting this in? Because we need to check if you paid in the right place or something awkward like that. So we've hopefully turned what could have been something painful into something that could help with growth. Um,
On the implementation side, were there any fun stories from this that you want to share in the last few minutes here?
Oh, I mean, like I think the most fun bit is that there was so much work that had to go into the architecture around the like shared stuff about this feature, right? Like the one of three demo uses remaining, like that was a significant lift. There was some like other significant lifts that had to happen to make it possible to like turn on blur when you're in the countdown mode and then also when you're in the recording mode and have all of that pass over and like make it possible so that anyway, like there was a lot of behind the scenes architecture work. So like Maya and Kiran, whenever I was given updates for like multiple weeks, I was just saying like, it's coming, just please trust me. All of these little pieces that are really, really prerequisites for the feature are coming in, they're on pace. The actual core of the feature is going to come together pretty quickly once all of this is in place. And I think the most fun bit about this is that, as I mentioned, I was in Munich, it's like sitting at my gate waiting for 6 hours for my flight to happen. And before I left Montreal, there was just prerequisites. There was no blurring. There was no anything like the cursor wasn't there. The like hover outlines weren't there. You could, when you scrolled on the page, like the outline that we have for the hovers definitely was not following the boxes. It was just sitting where it was. So all of that was implemented in 24 hours or however many hours it took to get from airport gate in Montreal to I just landed in Istanbul, and like they're landing in Istanbul and they're telling me to put my seatbelt on and turn my laptop off. That was the feature. It shipped in that 24-hour period because all of the prerequisites were ready. That was a lot of fun to get in.
I feel like it's appropriate to the feature that most of the work can't be seen.
Well, thanks for joining today. This was this is awesome.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah. All right.
Cheers.